No, don't stand. Stay seated, please. The door is locked, but there are guards on the other side of it, so before we get started, I need you to understand that any outbursts of anger, emotion, or anything else that could potentially be damaging to me will cause them to come in and you will be taken back to your cell without counsel. Do you understand me? Thank you. Before we get started, how are you doing? You've been in here in these conditions for about 3 days now, which I have already filed a formal complaint about. You should not have been denied legal counsel that long. They're feeding you? Good. I've had a chance to look over your case, and from a legal standpoint, I think we have a strong case. From a moral, ethical, and potentially biased standpoint on the part of the High Council, we may have more of a struggle than that. Are you ready to fight for your freedom? Are you ready to do exactly what I tell you to do? Good. Let's start at the beginning. I'm your lawyer, for lack of a better term. It's not a term we use here, but in your world, I believe that's what we're called. No, I'm not human. I am an elf. Do you speak the language here yet? Okay. Loosely translated, my people are considered ethereal. The ones that have chosen to embrace their heritage, to embrace their place in our society, look almost like angels in your world. I have chosen a different route, obviously. I don't want to get into that because it's not relevant to your case, but I have chosen not to follow the footsteps of my people so that I can help newcomers to our society, specifically humans. There are more coming every day, and unfortunately, our current High Council is not overly accommodating to these new people. So that's what I do, is I make sure that your rights are protected, that you have everything you need, that there's no overstepping. Okay? All right. Let's review the charges. You were arrested for what loosely translates to speaking out of turn. No, in your eyes, you did not say anything inflammatory or derogatory, but I believe your roommate threw you under the bus. That's an expression I've heard humans use, and it seems appropriate. He was arrested for taking more than his allotment of food. Yes. As you know, every week, every citizen goes into the markets and takes their weekly allotment. Food here doesn't cost anything, but you are only allowed enough to sustain you, to make sure that we have enough to go around. And your roommate decided to be greedy and took part of another person's ration as well. When they interviewed him to discuss his charges and decide on a course of action, he openly disclosed that he had information about a traitor. You. Yes, I understand. Again, in your mind, you won't realize what you did. But there's a very strictly enforced rule here that says humans are not to talk about the world they came from. Yes. From the transcripts of the conversation with your roommate, he disclosed that you were quite openly and enthusiastically discussing your home, how things were, what you miss about it. Is that correct? The leader of the High Council right now is very anti-human. He does not understand that we all need to work together because the species that are here, the groups of people that are here, have all lost their worlds in one way or another, and humans are next. So we have started reaching out and bringing as many humans here as we can before things get really bad where you're from. He does not believe that that is a sound course of action. As far as the High Council is concerned, your life began when you got here. The life you had before does not exist, and you are not allowed to speak of it. I understand that you did not choose to come here, that you were taken with a large group of humans. Yes, on the ship. That is correct. You haven't seen anybody that you came here with, and that is for a reason. When groups of humans are brought to us, they're separated, isolated from each other when they get here. The High Council has decided that it's easier to assimilate that way. They feel that one human on their own without ties to anyone else is less of a threat than a group of humans with emotional connections. Emotions aren't something that we value enough here. Emotion can lead to anger, can lead to dissent, can lead to mutiny. And the High Council has decided that that is not acceptable. So they isolate the humans until they have lost essentially their humanity and become like us. They figure since you're not allowed to speak of where you came from and the life you had before, it should be fairly simple to stop you from forming bonds with other humans, even if you did not know them prior to coming here. What the High Council doesn't realize, and I'm sure you know this, is that humans don't work that way. Humans are capable of forming connections beyond anything we've experienced here. Emotion doesn't mean anything in this world, but it does to you. So now, it's my job to get you out of these charges and hopefully give you a chance at a happy life here, free from what we call the abyss. Has no one told you about the abyss? Where you come from, you have prison, I believe, is the word. Cells where you are locked away from the rest of the population, correct? We don't put people in cells. We send them to the abyss, which is a very isolated, destitute place. You're free to roam around. You are not confined to a cell or a house or any small space. But food is more strictly rationed. You do not get a say in what your job is. You are given a function based on what the High Council believes your abilities to be. And you are not allowed to have contact with anyone you could potentially see as a mate. It's isolation and imprisonment in a completely different way than what you are used to, but in a lot of ways, it's similar. From what I've read of your world, there are strict policies in place when someone is considered a criminal. They are put in prison, locked away, only allowed to associate with other criminals until their sentence is over. The most heinous criminals are locked away permanently. Here, if you go to the abyss for any reason, you don't come back. So it's of the utmost importance that I get you out of these charges and that I prove that you are not guilty. I've been thinking about that, yes. You did speak openly about your world, and when they asked you that, not knowing the law, you admitted it, which is a confession. However, I've found a loophole. Yes. When you arrived on the ship, what happened? Okay. They gave you clothing and they took you to your new home, to your roommate. At any time, were you taken to a room and shown a holographic presentation when you got here? No? Were you given a book of our laws and rules? Okay, I didn't think so. The fact that you were so shocked when I told you what your crime was tells me that you were unaware that that was one of our rules. There's supposed to be an orientation when you arrive, especially for humans. It explains the rules of our world, gives you an idea of what's expected of you, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what you can be arrested for. It is your basic right to understand the laws. And it sounds like they skipped that part. I'm not sure why, but I've been looking into it. You were given a name when you came here, correct? I'm going to ask you something that could get us both in trouble, and I need you to be honest with me. What was your name in your world? Can you repeat that just so that I'm sure, please? Well, that's why. The High Council has a group of beings with knowledge unlike anything we've ever seen. In your world, you would call it prophecies. For a long time, especially under this current regime, there has been talk of a human, a line of humans, who have the ability to overthrow our current system. Yes. In a nutshell, it has been foretold that your family line will be the one to destroy the current council. Since a prophecy like that is not considered legal grounds for anything, they've set you up to fail. They can't openly take you away. They can't openly make you disappear. They're very touchy about laws and rules here, so they would never openly break one like that. An oversight in your orientation is much better in their minds than any more drastic measures to stop you from becoming a problem. All right. I still plan to argue that the loophole is you were not properly given your orientation, and so could not be expected to know that what you were doing was wrong. I understand. Where you're from, that is not the way things work. Here, however, I may be able to make it work. We have our work cut out for us, and this will not be easy. Your trial will be more involved and more complicated than most because of who you are. I don't know. I can't say for sure where you go from here or how the prophecy will come to be. But I'm sure as we move down the road of your defense, we will start to see it. We will start to see pieces form. That's usually how it works. I plan to have you freed because I believe that what you're here for is far more important than anything else I've ever handled. You are too important to go to the abyss and allow the current High Council to proceed as they see fit, because as they see fit is wrong. Yes, I will help you. We'll get you out of here first, and we'll go from there. I work with an underground group of humans. They will be absolutely thrilled to meet you and to take you in and to help you do whatever you are supposed to do here. But for now, we need to get to work. We don't have a lot of time before your trial, and I need you as prepared as possible. Are you with me? Let's get started.